Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Sunday night Token Metrics Crypto Conference Call. I'm Bill Noble, your host, filling in this weekend for Ian, and we are going to talk crypto tonight. We're going to start with a really unusual topic, okay? It's called We're Not Crazy, okay? So one of the things that we've been telling you, big picture, is that there are bullish factors out there in crypto that are going to hold up the market, or so we hope. Now, one of those things that we had as a theory was that Elizabeth Warren, who is a Democratic presidential candidate, was gaining traction. Why is that positive crypto? Well, because she wants to take 5 or 10% of every rich person's bank account and simply redistribute it or hand it out in the form of government programs. Now, we're not a political talk show. Doesn't matter what we think, but we do know this. In stocks, no one took Trump seriously when he was a candidate. And then all of a sudden, they all had to recompute their math when he got elected. And believe it or not, we think that nobody is giving this lady, Elizabeth Warren, a shot, right? Even though she keeps gaining and gaining and gaining in traction. Now, why is it important for crypto? Well, because obviously if she's going to take people's wealth, people are going to want to move their wealth into crypto, put it in Bitcoin, put it in a cold wallet. Nobody wants to lose huge chunks of their wealth to just an indefinite taxing machine that is the US government. Okay, now that was our theory. And you're like, wow, dude, that's pretty deep. Are you sure you know what you're talking about? And then lo and behold, as you see on our screen, okay, I used to work for Goldman. So here I have my ex-Goldman colleague. I didn't work with him, but I know the Goldman mind. So here we have Mike Novogratz, the head of the biggest crypto hedge fund. Okay, so undoubtedly long crypto in some capacity, if not outright long stuff like Bitcoin and Ethereum. And look at this over here where my mouse is. Billionaire Michael Novogratz says rich people are too worried about Elizabeth Warren, that it's perfectly okay that she comes in and takes 5 or 10%. What's the big deal? You're super rich anyway. You know what? Let me tell you something. People who work for Goldman Sachs, they do not like to lose money, right? So Mike is okay with Elizabeth Warren because Elizabeth Warren is wildly positive crypto on a long-term basis. And Mike conveniently gets out on the tape and points out that, hey, check out Elizabeth Warren. It's not as bad as he thinks. Yes, because he's long the stuff that will go up if Elizabeth Warren gets elected or when people start taking her seriously. So it's understandable that you might look at me and say, okay, buddy, Elizabeth Warren, positive crypto, okay. But when Mike Novogratz is saying it, then I think we should pay attention. So what's our takeaway here? Our takeaway is watch Elizabeth Warren. Eventually, it's going to be constructive crypto. I don't know if it's constructive crypto now, but this is a theme that you got to watch, and Mike Novogratz is telling you to watch it. Okay, now I'm going to move to the next theme that we've had, which is that Ethereum, okay, is wildly undervalued. Part of our thesis for constructive crypto longer term is that, frankly, Ethereum at $180 is a joke. It should be at $350. Right. And when I did the video about Ethereum at 350, when I saw it posted on our YouTube channel, I was like, wow, man, that was pretty bold. That's pretty bold. Right. But then I'm like, the numbers are clear. Why? Because Ethereum is both money, like the SEC has said, it is a currency. It is not a security. It is money. And it's a platform to create more money. And I've been saying this over and over and over again, and I wouldn't be shocked, if everyone's like, is this guy ever going to stop repeating himself? Okay, well, the answer to that question would be no, because lo and behold, on, gigantically popular blog, Zero Hedge, is an article penned by somebody saying, you know, Ethereum, if it's valued as a currency and as a payment system, which is a nice way of saying an ability to create or pass through different currency, that, you know, its value is overwhelmingly higher, right? Like overwhelmingly so. So when I see these type of things, I say to myself, how in God's name can Ethereum sit at $170? How can that happen? And I then transition it to say, why is it not going up? Like, that's the big question in crypto right now. So it's like Elizabeth Warren is bullish Bitcoin, but Bitcoin's not going up. Ethereum should be at 350. A blog says it should be at 1,000, but it's not going up. So what's the problem? What's going on? Well, let's talk about that. Let's go to the charts. Okay. So here we have Bitcoin on BitMEX for the 4-hour chart, right? This range trade is miserable, and it's forcing us to go to intraday charts. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this chart and say, is there any evidence that the big picture things that we're thinking about are actually coming true in the market? And if not, what should we do, or what should you do, right? So Bitcoin here is in this range, okay? And as you can see, we have something that looks like a head and shoulders top forming, right? There's a shoulder, there's a head, and right here, potentially, there's another shoulder, okay? I don't know if it's down here or at 8,300 or it's up at 8,600. The point is, this is not a really super bullish structure, right? If it was above 8,600, I would be like, let's go, let's buy it, right? Because I've got all this other stuff behind it. But until I see Bitcoin doing something good, I'm worried about something. And that something is very simple, that people already own this. They've already bought it. These themes that we're talking about are known, and that people are not getting gratification out of their positions, which means they could turn around and dump it, because that's just what happened in 2018. Now, I would only start talking about that if Bitcoin spent a ton of time below 7,800. Okay, that's right here. All right, and I have Gann work, all right, that would indicate the following. Over the next 2 weeks, I do not want to see Bitcoin sitting between 8,100, or I do not want to see it sitting at 8,600. If it went down, great, the decline might end and we could buy the dip. If it explodes past 8,600, then let's go with it. But this range, and sitting in this range, the longer it sits here, the worse it is. So what would I do in Bitcoin? Right now, stay flat. This little rally over the weekend on Sunday, it just looks like a bunch of people that got short on Friday that were looking for it to get crushed, and it didn't. It held, okay? And then you get this bounce, which could be the right shoulder, which is right here, either at 8,300 or at 8,600, okay? I know I've got these bullish themes, but the chart is the chart, and I'm not getting long, okay? I'm not going to be buying more Bitcoin unless it just blows through 8,600. Okay, if it sits in this range, it's toxic. Okay, now if you're still watching, first of all, we appreciate it. If you're still watching, the big question is, why is Ethereum not rallying? Like, if Bitcoin is at 8,200, based on all the things we've talked about, Ethereum should be at like 195. It should be off to the races. Okay, so if Ethereum did bounce off support here on the 4-hour, okay, that's great. It did break a trend line. That's pretty good. But we want to see it smoke to the upside, right? Here is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Now, the good news is Ethereum versus Bitcoin is coming into a support zone. All right, so here's our conclusion on Ethereum. If you were going to buy anything in crypto, like if you just were watching this tonight and say, when I'm done, I'm going to buy something. I would say buy Ethereum, right? Bitcoin's picture is too muddled. It's too difficult to understand. Ethereum is clearer, right? Decent support here, decent support versus Bitcoin. If I bought anything, I'd buy Ethereum, not Bitcoin. Okay. And here's another reason why. Okay. And this is something that anybody who's into crypto and Ethereum needs to understand. This is QQQ. It's NASDAQ 100. Okay. And it's basically big tech stocks, your Facebooks that they're creating, Libra, you're just your big stocks, your Googles, etc. Now, what you can see two things here. One, this thing is at resistance, but it's at its highs. The reason stocks are up is they're expecting the Fed to continue to print money. And that has benefited stocks when I thought it was going to benefit Bitcoin. So stocks seem ridiculously high to me, right? And if stocks come down, that's got to benefit Ethereum, because which do you want? Old tech and Facebook and apps, or new tech like Ethereum? Facebook, Ethereum. Oh, I don't want Facebook. Oh, I definitely want Ethereum. That's how I would say it. Okay. So we have to keep an eye on this, because I think this is ridiculous that QQQ is something that people should be getting out of and into Ethereum. Assuming we get cooperation from Bitcoin. Okay. Because I think Bitcoin is the wild card in all of this. So what is our net? Stocks, we don't like. Ethereum, we do like. Bitcoin, we're neutral, but we really don't like it because it's not doing the things it should be doing. Okay. So in this type of environment where it's well, Ethereum's okay, but Bitcoin sort of isn't, it's one where you want to have capital in reserve. The most important thing in an environment like this, particularly at this time of the year, is to keep powder dry. What's the advice? What's the thing we're telling you on the show? Stay long Ethereum. Don't speculate in Bitcoin until it shows clear direction, and make sure your positions are reasonable enough so that if there is a big move, whether it's up or down, particularly if it's up, you've got capital in reserve. All right. So that's our show for this week. I'm Bill Noble. We'll be here for you, whether it's a boring range trade or a raging trend. Stay with us at Token Metrics. Have a good night.